doing sequences on the calculator. The whole purpose of learning mathematical formulas is so they'll be useful in real life. And in real life, a lot of things are done on computers and using spreadsheets and so forth. And sequence formulas are really helpful for that. First of all, I want to talk about using the explicit rule. And I'm going to show you that if you open a list and spreadsheet page on your calculator, we can populate a list with term numbers. In this case, I decided to use 100 terms. You could make any terms you want. And to do this on the calculator really easily, name your list. In this case, I named my list N because our term numbers are N. And then you write equals and then SEQ for sequence, X, comma, 1, comma, 100. It doesn't have to be an X. It could be any letter, just as long as those two letters are the same. It's saying basically the function is y equals x, the variable is x, and I put in values 1 through 100 for x, and that gives me my y value, which is the numbers 1 through 100, because x just equals x. Anyway, this is a way to generate the numbers really quickly. I could also just type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if I wanted to do a few terms. Now, to get the term in the sequence, then I have to put in a rule for the term. And I put in the explicit rule. In other words, I need to plug in the term number n, which I have listed in the first column, to get my terms. So here I have an arithmetic sequence where a sub 1 is 3 and d is 5. So in other words, I start with 3, add 5, and get 8, add 5, and get 13, add 5, and get 18. So this is the formula. 3, I type in equals 3 plus the quantity n minus 1 times 5. Now, that little asterisk next to the n right there, you don't type that in. It just sort of appears when a question is asked. This is actually the one that popped up for my third column, but it also pops up for the second column. It says conflict detected. It needs to know if I want the variable n or the column name n, and I want the variable reference. In other words, I want it to be a variable that these values in column n get plugged into this formula. So I want this to be a variable reference, so I push OK, and I think that's what put that little mark next to the n there. And it did it also in this other column. Then in the third column, I decided to do sum formula just to show you. So the sum formula for an arithmetic sequence is n divided by 2 plus a sub 1, which is 3 in my sequence, plus a sub n, which I just calculated in the previous column. So when it pops up that is n a column or a variable, then I do the variable reference again. And for some reason it didn't ask me that about a dash n, so that wasn't a problem. Notice then that when you push enter, then it automatically populates the column with the terms and the sums, because 3 plus 8 is 11, plus 13 is 24, plus 18 is 42, and so forth. Another place where an explicit rule comes in handy is using a sequence, the sequence function on the calculator page. So once again, I type in SEQ for sequence. This is the rule for the sequence, 2 times n plus 5. My variable is n. Now I could also do 2 times x plus 5, in which case my variable then would be x here, or 2 times, as I do in the next one, 2 to the t plus 1, and then my variable is t. So in a sequence, you put in the explicit rule, comma, the variable that you want to evaluate. In other words, I'm going to plug numbers in for this variable, and then the starting value for the variable that I'm going to plug in, and the variable ending value that I'm going to plug in. So here I want to know for n equals 1 to 10, 2n plus 5. So when n is 1, 2n plus 2 times 1 plus 5 is 7. When n is 2, 2 times 2 plus 5 is 9, and that gives me the number 7, 9, and this gives me the first 10. And then I showed another example where I did 2 to the t plus 1 was my formula. T is my variable, and I'm plugging in numbers from 0 through 5. So that is another way to generate a sequence using an explicit rule on the calculator. Now let's look at using the recursive rule. You've actually done this quite a bit already on a calculator, just sort of informally, that if you type in the first number, your starting number, and push enter, then you push any operation. In this case, I just pushed plus and push plus 5. It picks up the previous answer and adds 5 to it. So I put in plus 5, and this is what it looks like. But once I push enter, it changes it to 3 plus 5. Then if I just keep pushing enter, I don't have to do anything else, just keep pushing enter, it automatically then adds 5 to the previous number. It just keeps doing the same thing I asked it to do right here. So calculators love recursive rules, and so recursion is a really important thing to do when you're setting up computer programs and so forth. I can also do a recursive rule on the spreadsheet, and if you've worked with Excel spreadsheets, you may have done this before. Here I have I'm going to say here are the terms in my sequence, a sub n. The first term, a sub 1, is 3, so I just type in 3 into my first cell. In my second cell, instead of typing a number, I type in a formula. So I highlight the second cell and type in equals A1, which is the name of the first cell. It's in column A, position 1, so this is cell A1 plus 5. When I push enter, it gives me 8. To spread that rule down, I move my cursor till it's in the bottom left-hand corner of the highlighted square and then just drag it. And what it does is it copies this formula down to the subsequent cells. So this cell would be a sub 2 plus 5, etc. You can do this the same with geometric sequences or any types of sequences. Hopefully that's helpful to you to do some more complicated problems.